everyone, it's Michelle and welcome back to my channel. So, it's the first week of June and I really had to touch base with you guys about the second bunch of books that I read this month. A little disclaimer, one of these books is, well, it's a trilogy. One of the bunch of books that I read was a trilogy, and the last book I read just into the start of June. It's like early in June, I think it's like the 5th, and I had to include it because it's part of a trilogy and I had to chat to you guys about it as a whole. So without further ado, let's just dive in and submerge. So the first book I wanted to chat to you guys about, just very quickly, is the second book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympic. I'm getting tongue-tied. The Percy Jackson and the Olympians series, and this one is The Sea of Monsters, obviously by Riordan. I am kind of working my way through the series because I haven't read this. It is middle grade, it is fantasy, but it's like an urban fantasy. If you guys know, I don't know. Well, to tell you a little bit about it, you've got Percy Jackson and he is a demigod. So his father is Poseidon. And this is the second book in the series, and he ends up like pairing up with a Cyclops, which is super fun. Annabeth is back. It is Annabeth. Yes, Annabeth is back. And they kind of go on another fun sort of adventure. So this was light, it was fluffy, it was in between things, which I really kind of needed and enjoyed after diving into the first book of the series that I'm going to chat to you guys about soon. So it was fun, but I'm not going to lie, it kind of felt like a filler. You know, one of those things that happen in between like the start of a series and the next steps. Nothing really major with the plot happened. Everything sort of stayed the same. There was just like this fun adventure that was kind of like on the side. It was fun, but it definitely wasn't like, it didn't move the plot along. It wasn't a massively engrossing tale, but it was cute. It was fluffy, it was sweet. We saw a return of Percy, we saw a return of Annabeth, and all their fun bits and pieces and some interesting bits in between, like a Cyclops and some interesting new creatures. But yeah, that's about all I can say on that one. So let's jump into the next series I read. Oh gosh. So again, I'm going to say this probably for like the millionth time. I have such a weakness or a passion for absolutely beautiful book covers. And when I saw these and I heard about the story, I was like, oh my gosh, that trope is totally up my alley. And the series is kind of described as like it feels like a fairy tale retelling, like with folklore and stuff kind of dived in there, you know, cold winters. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're heading into winter. That is totally up my thing. And between myself and somebody else I met through booktube, which has been super fun, like we decided to do like a read along with us, which has been really nice actually. And yeah, without further, I'm going to just jump in and tell you it was the Winter Night trilogy by Catherine Arden, which is The Bear and the Nightingale, The Girl in the Tower, and The Winter of the Witch. So I am going to first off say something which is really weird. Yes, I know I have 2 paperbacks and a hardcover here. Bit of a weird one. When I ordered them, I was like, I really wanted it, so I got these 2, and I couldn't, for the life of me, I could not source the third one in paperback. And eventually I was like, let me just get it in hardcover, then I have it. Because there is nothing worse than knowing a series is finished, a book series is finished, and you've got 2 of them, and you really want to read the third, and you don't have it. So I was, and you can't get it, and I couldn't get it. So I was like, damn it, let me just, and then I couldn't get it at all, and then it came on, but it only came in on hardcover, and I just dived in there, and I was like, I have to get this thing so that I have it. Anyway, but what I really loved, I love these paperbacks that just like kind of open, and you don't really, I mean, look how floppy that is. There's nothing better than like a floppy paperback. Well, actually there is. You know, when you take the dust cover off a hardcover and the underneath is just so beautiful, the spine or something like that, that probably might just be better than a paperback. But anyway, so to dive in and tell you a little bit about this tale, we have Vasya. This whole story is kind of the environment, the atmosphere, it is very atmospheric. It is sort of like set in Russia, and it's got this very cold, very wintry atmosphere. It is totally transportive. It actually reminds me a lot of like the atmosphere from, if any of you guys have watched Game of Thrones, yes, I'm one of those that watch Game of Thrones, but it makes you really feel like, you know, winter is coming, the north. But anyway, it has a total vibe, which is so fun. Yes, the first story, they say, is very slow. It takes a while to kind of get into. Probably one of my most favorite things about this whole series is the family ties. Like, this family is so incredibly strong, and they just absolutely cherish that. I don't know if it's specific to the times or the way she decided to write it, but it was probably one of my most beloved parts of this entire series, because it is literally relevant all the way through. So there is a very unique magic system here which kind of goes on, and it feels very folklore. You know, this young girl, her mom dies when she's very, very young, and she kind of gets brought up by obviously her dad, her older siblings, and then by her nurse, who was actually her mother's nurse as well. And they tell them all these stories, these proper Russian folklore stories. And it's just incredible to watch how this kind of develops. And Vasya is very different to all her siblings, because she has this special strain of magic that kind of goes through her body. And well, when I say her body, that is in her, okay? She has this very special strain of magic. And it is just beautiful to watch how it develops alongside everything else, and how different she is, and how like free she is. I just absolutely loved her as a character. She is free and strong-willed, and you know, maybe not traditionally beautiful, but just reading her, I absolutely adored her. And the level of development, self-development, or just development as a character that she went through, going through all three of these books, was just absolutely phenomenal. I loved her character. I absolutely loved, she ends up with an animal familiar, and I absolutely adored him. I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, but it was just, oh, it was so special. The love interest, it was like hot and cold and mixed in between there and confusing. And it just, the way it developed and emerged over the three books was just, I loved it. There was something so special and so removed but very powerful about it, which I really did enjoy. But I will say this, the series was quite heavy to read. It just felt like far heavier a book than I've read in a long time. And in that sense, it actually reminded me a lot of like the older books that I've read, you know, because I used to pick up a lot of like old books in SPCA. So if you guys aren't familiar, or you're not local to South Africa, we have SPCA, which is the Society for the Protection of Cruelty Against Animals, or something like that. And quite often, like if we want to donate books, we'll give them to the SPCA, and the SPCA sells them. So, and then you as a random citizen can walk in, buy them, and it benefits the animals in these shelters. So yeah, in essence, it's an animal shelter. But you know, I've picked up these books in these places, and they've just been written in such a way that is slightly heavier, but the underlying story and the way in which it's written is so lyrical and beautiful and expressive. And yes, those family ties are generally very evident, because, you know, older books are perhaps slightly more traditional and placed in such a way that, you know, they are relative to the times, you know, kind of like, you know, makes you think of like Little Women, and I'm trying to think of something else, and like Heidi. You know, these things are so family orientated. Although the family members are all over the place, they are so connected, so true to each other, and that was probably just absolutely beautiful. I loved how she developed as a character. I loved how the magic system developed, and I have to say there was a definite sort of line between the three books. I mean, in the first book, you literally have Vasya discovering her magic, discovering her power, figuring out the different elements of it and how this all works. And all the characters were pretty much like somewhat explored and developed in book 1, which I really, really loved. And then of course we came along to book 2. What I really loved about book 2 was she had so much further development. We saw some of the old characters renewed in this book. We saw more development of those old characters that were renewed in this book. But there was a story in here that developed Vasya without necessarily developing the back plot. And but it's not like it was a side book, like I mentioned, Nana. It's not like a story that it was so pivotal to her development and to the story that it was exquisitely done. I cannot explain better than that. And then it all sort of came to the fore, got pulled together. All the characters literally just came together. And there was it was pulled together in an absolute masterpiece. I cannot explain it more beautifully than that. It's almost like you had the sketch in the first book, the color in the second book, and this was the artwork. This was the painting. This was the finished artwork and that she signed. It was just explosively, beautifully done. I absolutely adored it, the way it was all, oh gosh, the detail in this was just phenomenal. I was transported. I was there with her the entire time, rooting for her, seeing where this was going to go. I never felt like I had predictability, which was so awesome. So often I will read a series and I'll be like, oh, I could go this way or that way, and I enjoy it anyway. But this literally kept me on my toes. I wanted to see what happened. And I mentioned, Nana, that I love, probably the only thing that's better than a hardcover, a softcover, floppy softcover, is that although this was white, I just thought this was too beautiful. I actually ended up putting it on my Instagram page, a nice picture of this, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. It's got this rose gold sort of twinkle shine to the writing on the spine. It's probably such a beautiful spine. But anyway, the artwork is just absolutely gorgeous. I just saw that Fairy Loot has brought out a new exclusive edition, which looks absolutely gorgeous. I'm not a fan of the other editions, but that one looks absolutely gorgeous. And I am going to stop there because I'm probably rambling and talking about a whole bunch of things. I buy enough books. I really don't think I should have second and third copies of the same ones. But anyway, that's it from me, guys. Check out my channel if you guys, check out some of my other videos. I'm having so much fun doing one or two other tag videos, so I'll try and pop a link in the description down below, and check it out. And if you guys like what you see, click on the like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.